Here's the full build video of me creating a custom walnut arched cabinet. Carpentry by Cade in Denver, Colorado. We started with an IKEA base cabinet. Easy tape measure trick to create the radius for my layout. Then onto a circle jig for my plunge router. Once I got the piece cut, that became my template for a gigantic top bearing bit, so I could quickly cut 3 more of them. Back to using the circle jig to cut the inside form. Currently feeding my baby girl a bottle, so say hey to Paisley. Oh, and there's Bowie Doggy too. Here's the inside form with the ribs. There's the veneer going in the veneer press and into the vacuum bag, so it squeezes out and becomes round, like a tech deck half pipe. Initial pass with the door planer to clean up the edges, then onto the jointer to get a true 90. From there, you register the 90-degree face on the fence, so I can cut one edge parallel and then flip it around again to make it super parallel. Put some delicate tape on the face of the veneer to minimize any chip out from the table saw blade. Next, I marked my half lap joints and then used the outside form as a router guide. I have about 1.5 inches of vertical at the bottom of the radius, so I was able to cut a pretty wide half lap joint and fill it up with glue, then clamp it up. That way it gets super strong. And here I am using some 5/4 hard maple left over from a project a couple years ago that is an excellent clamping call. Look how pretty that walnut grain is. Then on to my prized possession of a 2001 Hitachi C10 FSH. I'm the second owner, making the cross cuts, then take the planks over to the table saw to get the rip cuts on them. My buddy Steve, who taught Jesus carpentry, calls these the gemello jointer. And fill it up with some more tight bond dark wood glue. Give it a thwack thwack, then put it in the parallel clamps and wipe out some of the squeeze out. And oh wow, look at that. Beautiful. In this photo, you can see the steel C-channel that I had to dado in because the panels bowed because I only veneered one side of them at first. Now edge sanding to clean up for the edge banding. Now to start cutting the veneer for the edge banding. This is a 0.6 millimeter walnut veneer that I first applied to the outside of the radius. Then started cutting the miters for the continuous edge banding to go across the face of the cabinet. And yeah, using the miter gauge to, cut the angle kind of works, but I found it was much better to create this little jig and then just overlap the 2 veneers and then slice them both at once. That way, the imperfect cut has a perfectly complementary cut behind it. Now to put more delicate tape on the face of the veneer to protect it, and put the mitered edge banding on. Then used some 6/4 red oak as another clamping call. The next day I took it out of the clamps and said, ooh, ah, admiring at what I did, and then grabbed the flush trim bit for my trim router. Sick. Then I'll skip the part where I sanded all of the inside of the radius and show you hand sanding the outside. And on to cutting the shelves to go inside the cabinet. Give it a little squirt, squirt, splash, splash, and show off some of that walnut grain. Once I got the shelves in place, I just sent some, 1.5 inch deck screws through the carcass and into the shelves. And now on to the scariest part, which is finishing. Step 1 was a wipe down of de-waxed shellac to lock in some of that color. Then there's my storyboard of toning the polyurethane. And once I liked the couple drops of honey amber to lighten it up a little bit, I started spraying the shelves down with my HVLP. I should have gone a little heavier on the first toning coat. As you can see, it flashes off, but thankfully those streaks don't appear on the next coat. Now for the cob LED strip lighting to go in, I skipped the part where I cut the dado in the back and then inlaid the aluminum track for the lights. But these cob lights are way better than the individual diodes because it's so diffused. You can see it's just one continuous strip of LEDs, and once the baffle goes on there, it's just a super flat light that looks really good. And to make the tile backsplash install easier, I just cut a template out and laid the tile on top of it instead of trying to trace the angle while the piece was in place. Then I skipped recording a couple steps of install because I was one big ball of stress. But here's my side panel scribe template that I made out of some 1/8 inch thick cardboard. And my favorite scribe tool is a flap sanding disc on my angle grinder. And look at that, pretty perfect first go at it. Scribed it the German way, guten tight. Then showing off the low voltage rough in. I used a Lutron Cassetta switch with a American Lighting transformer and then the Lutron Pico remote. And now the router circle jig one last time to cut the valence. And scribing it to the ceiling was pretty tough because I didn't have a reference line to offset and then scribe to. But hey, look at that. It's good enough for government work. And now a couple dabs of glue and blast it with my 23 gauge pin nailer and the side panel is on. Then finally, just had to skip the part where I cleaned up all the blood, sweat, and tears, and wow, would you look at that. This dark green zeliege tile backsplash has a couple notes of like red and some orange in it, and that inlaid backlight really shows it off. So thanks for watching my tutorial video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, learned a lot along the way, and hopefully I'll be hired to do another one.